I believe that Donald Trump won the election. I believe that they tried to steal the election.
Stop the Steal, a movement of Trump supporters that gained hundreds of thousands of followers online in the hours after the election, has inspired protests across the country.
The ballots that you said you saw are lying around the place or in trash cans or whatever, where are you hearing that from?
I mean, the videos are going viral everywhere. I've seen them on TikTok. I've seen them on Facebook. I've seen them on Fox News. I've seen them on the local news around my area.
I've seen too much pieces of different evidence so far that shows that at this point I would be okay with a revote.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have video footage of people taking bags of ballots and showing that they are for Donald Trump and lighting them on fire.
I helped write a fact check on CNN on that particular video. The election officials said that video has been going around for a few days. They are printout ballots. They're not real ballots.
So you use the information of the election officials.
Somebody like me comes along, tries to research it, tries to fact check it, and then I fact check it. You'll come back and say, well, the election officials would say that.
But wouldn't they, though? That's the thing, though. Question everything, right?
You are not going to steal this election from us.
The video actually showed sample ballots, not real ballots. The video's assertion is false, but even the president's son tweeted it to his millions of followers. Election officials in Virginia, where the sample ballots were from, told CNN they had spent days trying to correct the online misinformation.
When we went to bed on election night, when they told us they stopped counting, we woke up and there was a vertical spike right for Biden, 130,000 votes approximately. That's when I knew there was a problem.
Now, as my buddy Steve Bannon says, if you're going to lie, be believable about it. Because you do not have 138,000 votes come in and 135,000 of them come in for Biden.
This is what I think you guys might have been talking about on election night, Michigan, 138,000. This was from a website called Decision Desk HQ. But they came out and they said, we messed up. There was an error in how votes came back and were reported, and that's why there was this spike in the map.
Yeah.
But, you know, the election officials in Michigan then all confirmed to say, yes, there was this error. They are not real ballots. Those ballots never existed.
President Trump himself even shared a post about the Michigan error. Twitter labeled his post as misinformation.
Are you concerned that just as how people on the left can fall for misinformation, that maybe sometimes you...
Oh, yes. I'm very thorough with the information I look at. I have my opinions, obviously, but I'm not just going to go around retweeting blatantly false information or things that I believe that are just... It's just... I look at things that are suspicious.
Some people at the protest told us the delays in news outlets projecting a winner contributed to their belief that Biden stole the election.
Let America first, or else it's going to be America last.
You don't think there's any way Trump could have lost?
No.
Really?
Yes. How do you go from almost losing 200,000 in 5 hours, you're down to 30,000 votes away from winning?
A lot of Democrats voted in the mail, they voted absentee, they voted before election day. And in a lot of states, those election day votes got counted first. That's why Trump had that early lead. And then once those other votes started getting counted, that is how Biden caught up. And
So where are all the Trump ballots that were mailed in?
Well,
Why are we finding them laying around in different places?
but Trump was telling everybody not to mail it in, right? That's why there's so much more mail-in Democratic votes, no?
No.
Many of the false claims alleging voter fraud spread on social media. Facebook and Twitter labeled some as misinformation.
I think that's wrong. I think that's not their place. We're like one big science experiment for social media. If I'm seeking a certain viewpoint and they seem to see that I favor that viewpoint more, that's the viewpoint that they're going to feed me. And then the other side's going to get a different viewpoint.
Does that concern you as a Facebook user?
I mean, it concerns me, yes, because of the fact that unfortunately people fail to think for themselves. They feed into everything that they're seeing without questioning it.
journalist Donny O'Sullivan reporting for you. Donald Trump echoing those calls of foul play, insisting that he was the victor of the presidential election and not Joe Biden. Well, sources tell CNN that Mr. Trump is being urged by several people in his inner circle to hold rallies across the country, pushing for vote recounts. The Trump campaign also planning a so-called messaging blitz to fuel allegations of fraud. One of their tactics is to show obituaries of people they will claim voted in the election. But here's the problem. There is absolutely no evidence to support that. Well, meanwhile, the White House banking on a string of lawsuits to change the election results. For more on that, let's bring in our legal analyst here at CNN, Ellie Honig, who is live for us today in New Jersey. It's good to have you, sir. Do these pending lawsuits have any chance of success?
Becky, based on what we've seen so far, the pending lawsuits are just junk. They are not supported by evidence. And look, it's one thing to spread a message by viral disinformation, the kind of videos we just saw in that piece that preceded us. But it's another thing to have to go into court and prove your case with actual evidence, actual facts. And as a result, we are seeing these lawsuits get spit out and dismissed by the courts essentially as quickly as they're being filed by the Trump campaign. We've seen dismissals in Michigan, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Nevada. And I'll give you one example that I think illustrates the deficiency here. In the Michigan case, the Trump campaign alleged that there was ballot tampering. Well, when they went into court, the judge said, "What's your basis for that?" And the answer was, "We have a witness who heard from an unnamed other person who heard from a third person that there was ballot tampering." I mean, that is triple hearsay. That does not stand up in court. That is not evidence. And that's why we're seeing these lawsuits fail so far.
Ellie, explain what the Pennsylvania case is and whether the Supreme Court could take that up.
Yeah, Becky, so this is the one case that may have a chance of legal success, but practically it's not going to make a difference. So essentially, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said it's okay to count mail-in ballots that arrived 3 days after November 3rd up till November 6th. That is being contested in the Supreme Court. Thus far, the Supreme Court has declined to take the case on an expedited basis, but they might, and they've given signals that if they do take it, they actually may throw out those very small subset of ballots. But practically speaking, the margins are important here. First of all, it is looking increasingly like Joe Biden doesn't even need Pennsylvania in order to win. If he wins Georgia or Arizona, he's going to have enough of a cushion. So even if by some miracle Pennsylvania flipped over, Joe Biden still has enough electoral votes. And this is important. The number of ballots at issue in Pennsylvania is way less than Joe Biden's margin, which last check was over 45,000 ballots. There doesn't appear to be anywhere near that many ballots at issue. So it may be a legal win potentially, but it's not going to change anything in terms of the result.
Okay, and so whether or not that's the case, we will continue to hear, I'm sure, from the Trump campaign for a period of time. What kind of legal powers, when I talk about a period of time, we're talking about 70 odd days that Donald Trump still has as the president of the United States. What kind of legal powers does he retain during this transition? And is there potential for some trouble here?
Yeah, Becky. So the president retains all of his constitutional powers, all of his legal powers until 11:59 and 59 seconds a.m. on January 20th. That is when the inauguration happens of the new president under our Constitution. He retains the power, for example, to pardon people. And it is not uncommon for our presidents to issue a lot of pardons, including some dubious ones on their last day or last days in office. I fully expect Donald Trump to issue pardons to his political advisors, potentially people like Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, people who were convicted in the Robert Mueller investigation. It'll be interesting to see whether he tries to pardon his own family members who are under investigation by state authorities. Now, a presidential pardon can only cover you from federal charges, not state charges, but I suppose you'd rather have some protection than none. And then the big question, the big unknown is, will the president try to pardon himself? That has never happened. No president has ever done it. The Constitution doesn't say anything either way. So there could be a real interesting sort of constitutional question. It reminds me of law school when they ask you these hypotheticals and you just don't know the answer. The only way to find out is by giving it a shot in the courts.
Well, I tell you what, the students going forward may have an answer for that, because there may just be some precedent going forward. Who knows at this point? Ellie, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.